Howdy, fuckers, and welcome to this episode of the Western Grunge Tapedeck. Today's episode is brought to you, as always, by Honky Tonk Degeneracy, Little Toy Horses, Good Bird Dogs, Linda down at the diner, and of course, all you loyal listeners. Thanks for tuning in each week and supporting not only our show, but all the incredible artists we get to talk to and talk about. Today, we've got a very special interview, an artist we've been wanting to kick back and shoot the shit with for a good while now. Welcome to the show, Colby Acuff. Colby, how's it going, brother?
How we doing, everybody? Thanks for having me on, man. I'm excited.
Yeah,
Glad you're here.
We're super excited to have you on.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to it for a while, man. I've always loved you guys' stuff, and I'm excited to just shoot the shit, as you said.
Perfect. So, Colby, your music is definitely packed full of stories and experiences that people can really connect to. It feels honest, and lived in. Every artist brings their own background into their music, and I imagine yours is full of some unique experiences. I'd love to hear about, where you come from and what first got you hooked on music.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, man. I always say that I'm 20, so I'm 28 years old. I just turned 28 in October, and I've just, my life, man, I've just always, I feel like, lived on a high mileage package. For the amount of years I've lived, I've always feel like I've lived a lot of lives, and I've, especially up till I was like 25, I lived pretty fast. And but I come from well, it was a logging town when I was a kid, but now it's a resort town, so a lot's changed where I'm from. But I come from a little town called Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, which is up in the Panhandle there, and I grew up doing what most Idaho kids do, which is you go hunting, you go fishing. That takes up about 85% of your time, and then everything else is like cutting cords of wood for your 9-month winter, and everything else. I'm from like 2 hours south of the Canadian border, but you got a lot of time in a place like that, and you got a lot of time in the winter, which like where I'm from, it gets dark at 3:30, and it doesn't get light till 8 a.m., 7:30 or so. A lot of darkness in the winter, and I spent a lot of that time playing music and listening to music, specifically when I was like a young kid. Dad always played a lot of vinyl, and he listened to a lot of like old bluegrass, like Flat and Scruggs, and all the way up to a lot of 50s and 60s rock and roll, Motown, that kind of stuff, and then also like outlaw country and so on. So listened to just a lot of music as a kid, and I really thank my parents for having great taste in music. And I don't think my parents ever thought I was going to be a professional athlete. Let's just say I wasn't like super, super athletic. And so they got me into music early, like piano at 5 and so on. And I don't know, I just feel like it always was a part of my life, whether I was listening to it or playing it, and then once I started writing, that was kind of it.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
My dad even got my very first gig when I was 11 years old. There's this little bar downtown, and it's called the 1210 Tavern. It's not even there anymore, but everyone used to call it the 60-40, 60% smoke, 40% air. And that was my very first gig. I was 11 years old playing Eagles tunes at the 60-40 on Sherman Avenue.
Damn, that's awesome.
How the times have changed.
I can't imagine 11-year-old me trying to play in front of a crowd. I would have been a puddle. That's awesome.
Well, it's funny because the bar isn't there anymore, and it's now like a craft brew place, which I actually love the place, and they still do live shows and stuff, but it's just changed so much. It's like go in and get your craft IPA, like you can like build a 6-pack, and then when I was a kid, it was like a bunch of sawmill workers and lumberjacks and things that you get up there, and it was pretty rough. And everybody was smoking. I don't even think the ventilation system could keep up with the amount of cigarettes people were ripping in there.
Yeah, we don't need a fog machine. We just need a whole bunch of people just smoking cigarettes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. So growing up, fishing, hunting, I know you spent time as a fly fishing guide. Is that right?
Yeah. I grew up doing. I was truant in high school, my senior year. I missed 53 days of my senior year because I was too busy duck hunting and fly fishing. And at that point in my life, I had been accepted to the University of Idaho, which is where I wanted to go to school always. That was like always going to be the thing. Except for I had a little bit of an inclination where I really wanted to be a guide. My whole life, I really wanted to go be a guide. And my brain and my parents were saying college or music. And then me at 18 was like, nah, I'm going to move to North Dakota and I'm going to chase ducks up and down the flyway and do that thing. I was like, or I'll be a fly fishing guide and move to Montana. And I ended up going to college, which was probably the best decision I ever made. Just because that's like what started my music career. But when I got out of college, I was so broke and I had an econ degree and I got an interview with Merrill Lynch to be a stockbroker, which was that was pretty high octane for me at the time. And so I'm at the interview and it's actually a family friend, the guy who's interviewing me, and job sounded great, but I just didn't sound like something I wanted to do. And I'd broken a fly rod 6 months back and I sent it in to get fixed, and my local fly shop called me and I went in because it was ready for pickup, and I'm grabbing it and the outfitter was like, hey, have you ever thought about guiding? Every day of my life. I was like, yeah, but I just got this job offer at Merrill Lynch and I don't know. And he's like, well, you can start tomorrow here if you want. So I called Merrill Lynch and I was like, hey, I love the offer and I appreciate it, but I think I'm actually going to be a fly fishing guide. And the broker on the other end was like, well, I don't know if you made the right choice in the long run, but I think you made the right choice right now. So that sounds like a good idea. So I was a fly fishing guide for about 3.5 years. And I think, I was guiding from 5 a.m. till 5 p.m., sometimes later. And I was playing bars at night and doing both at the same time. It was just like a never ending thing. And I think between going to college and building a college crowd and writing songs in college to then being a fly fishing guide, everything kind of slated everything to end up being in music.
Perfect.
That's amazing. I saw you, I think it was last year up in Colorado at the Moxie Theater.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I remember you talking about and telling that story, and some guides shouted out, whatever, hey, let's go fishing tomorrow. And you just turn, you're like, all right, where are we going? It cracked me up. And then just that crowd was probably one of the most, what's the word for it? Most like into the music. I know.
Yeah.
Whenever you were playing,
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was traveling for work, and we were staying, I think like south of Denver. So I called my boss up. I said, "Hey, getting us tickets. We're going." He's like, "Okay." And just it was insane. Whenever you played when I See You Again, I don't think I've ever heard a crowd so quiet. It was seemed like you could just hear a pin drop. It was
Dude,
it was beautiful.
We have some of the best fans, man. I all of our shows. That was actually it's funny you brought that show up though, because that's the very first headlining show on a national tour that we had. Because we didn't even start doing national tours until that year, and that was one of our very first headlining shows ever, like outside of Idaho, and so I was a little nervous about that show, and that crowd was phenomenal. And it was one of the very first shows outside of where I'm from where I was like, oh, people are singing shit back to me. And I can actually, this is real. It felt a little bit, more like, oh, we can actually do this on our own situation. And really from then on, there's only been a couple crowds where I'm like, this is wild. Most of the time it's great though. I'd say 99.9% of the time our fans are truly the best, and they know the words to the songs, and they know when to be quiet, and they know when to be loud. And it's usually though, I always say our crowd is usually about 60-40, 60% men, 40% girls probably. And but our standard fan is usually the steel worker or the welder who's got a couple weeks off and he's in the corner of the bar drinking some kind of domestic beer, and we're the daily driver for him. Our most streamed days are Monday through Friday. And that means people listen to us when they're in the shop. That means they listen to us on their way to work, on the way to school, on the way home. Like, that's when we really get to dig in with people. And that's really important for me. Like, we don't get a bunch of streams on Saturday night or on Sunday. But when you're at the time, when you're doing your thinking, when you're like really in the mode, whenever, we actually get to spend time with people when they're probably at the peak time to actually listen to something. They're not drunk at a club, I guess it would be like my example of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that rings true for me. I mean, so many of your songs have made me really just kind of stop and think about the world around me. Obviously, If I Were the Devil and American Sun are ones that pop into my mind at the moment. But you're, like I mentioned earlier, you just connect with people. You're so relatable. Your songs are so relatable that it just, when I need to listen to something during the day when I'm grinding, it's Colby Acuff. So
thanks. Yeah, I mean, I love when the songs get to do what they're intended to do. I've always, I've been lucky. In the career, it's always ups and downs and everything. And I've been super lucky that I've been able to release a lot of music. And I've always try to be, in the perspective of, I'm super fortunate in the fact that I feel like when people actually get a second to listen to a Colby Acuff song, then that's when we get them. I think you're not just gonna, if you're at a restaurant and American Sun comes on, you're not going to be able to digest whatever the fuck's going on. But one thing I will say is that if you are driving, like you're driving at night, or you decided that you're going to put on some music and you're just sitting there on your phone or something, that's when we're going to get your attention. That's when we're probably gonna convert you, as I would say.
And then on the flip side, one of our other co-hosts, Tracer, he loves Honky Tonk Heaven, and he said,
yeah,
someday he will drink a 7 and 7 with you. So maybe had to make sure we shouted him out on that one. So
it's so funny because it's like, I don't really drink that many 7 and 7. I would drink one, obviously, but a buddy of mine in college loves them, and like his family drank. He has like a photo from his grandpa in like World War II or something, and it's like he's holding like a Seagram's bottle, whatever, and then like ever since then he's always like, oh dude, 7 and 7's like my family drink, like we always drink Seagram's, blah blah blah. And the only reason why it's in the song is because goddamn nothing rhymes with heaven. It's 7 or 11, so it's like,
yep.
It's always funny, that one. But I do, man, that was a great song, great record, man. I've been fortunate, like I said, to be able to make so many records in a short amount of time, and that one in particular that was a fun record.
Yep.
I remember it was right after what was it? Now I'm blanking on the album name. It was your second album with If I Were the Devil. Yeah, okay, yeah. And I found it shortly after, and that was like my COVID find.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one day I was just driving, obviously, the world shut down, and I'm hearing my little F-150 just driving down the road. I think I went and just sat at the lake for a little bit, just sat on rocks and was just like looking out. And Dying Breed came on. I was like, oh man. I'm a huge fan of this. Up until you said that you were a Packers fan. I'm a Bears fan.
Ooh.
So
sorry, dude. It's a little fresh, not gonna lie. But I had yesterday I wasn't even like, I was watching the game yesterday. Here we go. This is a big sidebar. But I was watching the game yesterday. I'm like, God damn it, dude. I can't believe we're gonna lose to the Bears. But I was telling my fiance, we're sitting on the couch, I'm like, Bears know how to lose better than they know how to win. They could find a way to lose this game. She goes, oh my God, I can't believe you guys are gonna lose to the Bears. I'm like, no. Give them a little bit of time here. They might find a way. And I'm sorry, man. It's just brutal, though. It's tough to be a Bears fan.
At this point, I'm used to it. I think what hurt the most, it wasn't the blocked field goal at the end. It was a couple weeks ago when they were playing the Commanders, and that Hail Mary. that one almost made me just like give up and quit on football. Like, all right, well, there's no hope.
That might have been, that was the worst one for sure. I mean, after that, you're going just, I mean, nothing but up or down, I guess. I don't know. That's tough.
Yeah.
But, you know,
Yep.
it's not like the Packers are a Super Bowl team either. I mean, you know what I mean? They're not going to be doing much. So I was kind of like, oh, you know, I mean, if they win or they lose, it is what it is. After they lost to the Vikings, I was just kind of like, okay.
I don't care. The Bears could lose every single game, but as long as we beat the Packers twice in one season, I'll be happy. But
Yeah, well,
ain't gonna happen this year.
Yeah, might want to bring a lunch and a flashlight. It might take a while.
Yeah.
Well, I hate to turn the tables on you, but I got to apologize. I tweeted at you a few weeks ago about having to skip your songs when they came on because my Bobcats were up against the Vandals that day. And, you know, just meant some friendly trash talk, but then the Cats ended up kind of blowing the Vandals out. Now I just feel bad. So I hate to kick you while you're down.
So, all right, here's another one. So, speaking of tough losses, that one is terrible. And not only that, but it was the night that the game was on, it was my Red Rocks debut. So, we play Red Rocks. It was an amazing show. Like truly, like that was just one of my favorite shows we've ever played. One of my favorite nights. We get done. And I'm like, oh, let's turn on, because they have like in the green rooms, they have these, you know, they actually had TVs in this green room because Red Rocks is, you know, legit venue. And so we turn on the game and I'm like, dude, it's the only game we could get. We couldn't even get the Oregon-Ohio State game. So I'm like, oh, we got to watch the Vandals play then. And my booking agent went to Montana and he was at the show. And so, you know, we both absolutely hate Montana State, no offense. And I'm just like watching this game, losing my mind in the green room. Like one of the best nights I've ever had, just followed by one of, oh god, just the worst beatdowns I've ever seen. And oh man, it just, I will give you credit though, they're so good. They're so good this year.
They've got a
They're
tough
so
team this
good.
year. Yeah.
God,
They
they're
could
good.
maybe compete FBS level this year, maybe in the Mountain West. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I mean, yeah, they could go play in the Sun Belt. I mean, that's where
Yeah.
Idaho used to play the Sun Belt. Like, I mean, if Idaho can get to a bowl game, you know, that one year and they won a bowl game and I don't know how many wins. They probably had like 8 wins or something in the Sun Belt. That wasn't really all that long ago, especially with, you know, the coach that they had at the time. I'm not gonna lie. If they could pull it off, then I mean, you know, every now and then, you know, you get a good FCS team. The problem is, it's like Idaho had that really good team last year. We lost 14 players and 3 coaches. Like with the transfer
That'll do you
portal
in.
anymore, I mean, FCS football is just turning into what JUCO was, you know, 5
Right.
years ago. And it's just like, I mean, your team is so good. Like, see ya.
Yeah.
I mean, have fun next year. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Vandals, though, they're having a good year. 8-3, kept it
Yeah, but
close
I mean,
to Oregon. Like that was a good showing. And what did
yeah,
they have? Idaho State this weekend. Is that like a
no,
pretty
Idaho
big
State's,
rivalry?
no, oh yeah, no, they will. Yeah, last game. No. Our, unfortunately, our rivals are, I think it's EWU and Idaho State are technical rivals. Or no, Portland State, maybe. I don't know. It's bullshit though, because Montana should be our real rival. It's like Montana and Idaho State should be the rivals. But it just doesn't work that way. Like we didn't even play Montana this year, which is so lame because it's like the Brownstein game or whatever, and it's at peak anticipation because Vandals won and then Montana won last year. We beat them in Missoula and then they beat us in Moscow. So it's, you know, maybe next year we'll get them or whatever. But I don't know. It's Battle of the Domes, I guess, would be the Idaho State game, and you know you don't want to get rid of that rivalry because that's a pretty that's a nice win on the chalkboard every year. So
Yep.
I wouldn't want to see that go away. But I don't know. We'll see. The teams that they've lost to, I mean, besides Oregon, and also you know the last drive of that game, our quarterback broke his collarbone, and then he got injured again in the Montana State game. So, like,
Yep.
I don't know. It doesn't look great. And we lost to UC Davis, which was not my favorite. But I believe in Coach Eck, and I love him dearly. So, go Vandals always.
Are you just a football guy?
No, I'm a sports guy. I'm a guy's guy. Come on.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. You like sports? Yeah, that's me in a nutshell. And that's our band. We're just like, I'm it's so funny because I am just like any Colby Acuff fan. Like, I am just, that is who I am, man. But I'm a baseball guy, Mariners fan. I love college football. I love NFL. I like hockey. Like watching the UFC fights. Anything I can bet on or that is competitive, I'm a pretty big fan of. I'm not gonna lie.
There you go.
Mariners.
Well,
that one's rough.
Oh yeah.
Although they have been a lot. Yeah. Okay. Easy now. I am a Rangers fan, so we got our crown last year, so thank God.
Well, the thing is there's not a team I truly think anymore. Like in this World Series, I found myself rooting for the Yankees, which is just crazy. But the Dodgers, man, I just can't stand. They're like the new Yankees, you know. They anyone who's like, oh yeah, I mean, how could you ever root for the Dodgers over the Yankees? I'm like, dude, the Yankees are terrible.
Mm-hmm.
They're terrible. The Yankees have been a non-factor for so long. Like everyone wants to play the Yankees in the ALCS. Nobody cares about them. And then people are like, oh, the Dodgers, though, like they're so cool. No, they're like the new.
I would have rather seen a Mets Yankees series. That would have been
Subway
cool.
Series. Down for a Subway Series, but only if the Mets win.
Right.
Bingo.
See now it's scary because the Mets are also really good at losing.
They are very good at losing.
Mariners are tough because they're just the overall worst managed team from the beginning of the team being born. They've just been so poorly managed for so long. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. It's so bad.
They're one of those franchises that they just have the iconic players that you have to hang on to. It seems like they always have incredible guys come through, and it's rare that they hang on to them. Like traded Griffey, Randy Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
They hung on to King Felix, but
the only player that they've ever held on to for a career that was worth a damn was Ichiro, and everybody knows it. And it sucks too. Like, I mean, I'm from the Northwest, and I love the Northwest sports, but it's just not the most sport cultured place. But that's because you just have so many other things to do. Like, it's so big on skiing and hunting and hiking and fishing. And, like, there's a lot of other things going on, and I kind of get it. But holy shit, if you're going to have professional sports teams, like, you need to be fans of them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I look at Vandal football even. Vandals are it's a small thing. Like, it's FCS, but, like, it's diehard. Why don't we have that for the Mariners? I mean, I know they're bad, but oh my God, like, you need to be a fan. And I don't know. I mean, they've just traded so many people away. They're so poorly managed. They can never win the last 15 games of the season. If they're 3 games out, they'll end up 9 behind by the end. And it's also not really great that they have to play the Rangers and the Astros. I don't know. I mean, I could talk about that forever, right? Agree, dude. Terrible. My tour manager's from Houston. He's such a big Astros fan, and every year we get down to the wire, and I'm like, "Oh, Mariners are 3 games out." But then, like, the last 9 games is always like they got to play the Rangers 6 times, and the last 3 games are against the Astros, or one way or the other, and it just never really works out that good. So I just
I'm closest to the Rockies, so at least Mariners, I think, have things a little more figured out than the Rockies do.
They're almost in the same boat. because it's almost like neither of them even. Although I did go to a Rockies game last year when we were in Denver, and they were playing the Angels when Shohei was at the Angels, so I wanted to go watch Shohei play. Incredible. But like, I mean, dude, like the starting pitcher for the Rockies had an ERA of like 9.7.
Yeah,
like,
they're
this is the best you got. I mean,
they're
you're
kind of a
playing
joke.
against Shohei. Like, what are you guys doing? And it's like, this is the best guy. This is our guy. And I was like, okay, like, you say
Yeah.
so.
The only good thing about the Rockies is their stadium. That's about
It's
it.
awesome. Yeah. Although, dude, I went to the Ranger Stadium like right when it opened, like the new one. And I caught a day game there a couple years ago, and it was awesome. I really like that stadium.
Oh yeah, I love it.
The ballpark's sick.
I got to go sit in one of the party suites. My fiance's mom and stepdad had, I guess it was one of their friends, had extra tickets. So they're like, hey, come on, it's free beer, free food. I was like, oh,
Dude,
hell yeah.
Can't beat that.
Watching
I paid,
games in the suites.
and it's like, it was right up from the first level of in the outfield. So it's like, we're right there down the line. And I'm like, we were discussing it, where to park and how parking is. I was like, I'll pay $45-$50 to park right across the street from the doors. Like, we're going here for a free game and free everything. Like, hell yeah, I'll spend the money to park.
Dude,
And it's just it's awesome ballpark.
The best thing that I didn't know I was going to get as a perk as like this career goes on is the suites. Like, I'm going to sound like kind of a piece of shit here, but it's like, you gotta like, I'm a 28-year-old man, but I'm really like a 14-year-old boy. And, like Packers come to Nashville and they play the Titans. And I'm like, okay, my booking agency has a suite at the Titan Stadium. So I want to get tickets. I'm like, hey, can I get tickets for this? I got some friends in town who are also Packers fans. We're all going to go to the game. And whenever we do this, I'm so excited to go. But then like you get there and like, other people that get the suite tickets, it's they're like sports fans, but I'm like a person who should be in GA. Like I shouldn't be allowed in the suites, kind of, because I'm like, kind of just like, I'm a super fan of sports, and like people are like, oh, this would be fun to go do. I'm like, no, like we are going to thing, and I'm like gambling and like like degenerate.
I just need one more. I need you to get one more hit. That's it.
Yeah, man. Like I mean, even the Packers game, I had a bet on anytime Packers defense scoring, and I hit the bet. They had a pick six on Will Levis, and it paid like $500. So I was like freaking out when he's running the ball. Like they pick it, and I'm like, go, 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 and everyone in the suite is just like, what is wrong with this guy? It's just, I'm like almost like too rowdy to really be in those, but I enjoy it. I mean, it's awesome. Like you said, like free food, free beer. I mean, it's always a great time. It's fun.
Yeah, for sure.
So I saw you recently announced that you're going to be playing with Ian Munsick in February.
Yep.
I guess the Rocky Mountain boys have to stick together.
Yeah.
I'm curious, living in the region, are there any up and comers kind of in the Rocky Mountain region that you've come across that you think are making waves right now?
Yeah, there's a guy who opened for me on that Montana run, and his name's Tanner Laws.
Mm-hmm.
And he reminds me a lot of like when we were getting started, and it's just like, man, I remember when we started, it was like all we had to do was appeal to the Idaho people.
Mm-hmm.
It was hard for us to get gigs. Like it's not for anybody who's doesn't know that region. It's not like there's a ton of venues, and it's not like most gigs that you get out there are bar gigs, and they want covers, and they don't want you to play original music. They're like, play the George Strait hits, take the $200, play 3 hours, and shut the fuck up, and like that's the deal. And so like for us, it was really hard to market an original band. It's like, well,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they're like, well, how many songs? Like we were playing 4-hour cover sets. Like literally up until I moved to Nashville, we had a very, successful independent record. We had a lot of streams. We could sell tickets, but nobody believed us. I'd be
Yeah.
like, yo, we're playing this bar, right? And I'd be like, so can we play like an hour and a half set, play original music, we'll throw in some covers, we'll charge $10 at the door, and like, can we do that? And they're like, no. We're gonna play a 3-hour set, you're gonna play covers, you can throw in a few originals, you can sell merch, and that's that. There was only a handful of places that we were actually playing a headlining set.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I got my record deal, or the very first guy that I didn't actually end up signing with this company, but the very first offer I ever had to like actually be seen, the guy flew from LA to Idaho and watched me play a 4-hour cover set at a roadhouse in Post Falls, Idaho.
Yeah.
Wow.
So for those who don't know, that's what it's like to try to make it out there. And Tanner is doing a great job of that. And he's also getting to that next level, which is like what I started to do was travel for the local opening slot, which out west is a huge pain in the dick and it doesn't pay anything. So like I was driving to Great Falls from Coeur d'Alene to go get paid $150 to open for Diamond Rio. But we just headlined the Newberry this last year. We almost sold it out, and Tanner opened for us. So like all that stuff starts to, it goes full circle, but it just takes a little bit longer out there,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I watched you both in Livingston and in Billings, and I really like what Tanner's got going on.
Yeah,
I'm glad you
I think
mentioned
he
him because
appeals to the Montana guys, and I think that's a huge deal out there. It's like one of the hardest things to do. They always say like, if you can sell 100 tickets outside of your hometown, like that's when like it's kind of starting to work and like you can start moving and shaking and doing that. But I
mm-hmm.
have always said, man, if you can sell 100 tickets in your hometown and you're from Idaho, Montana, like you're doing the right thing, because it's hard, man. It's hard to move 100 people out there.
It is. Everything's so spread out, and yeah, it's got to be tough.
Real quick, so were you at the Pub Station show?
Yeah.
So I remember seeing you in Livingston. The
Mm-hmm.
Pub Station show, we had a lot of people get kicked out.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That was our problem. And I felt it from when I walked on stage. Everyone was hammered and it was super hot in there. But I think the problem that we had is our demographic is, well, it spreads a little bit, but like in Montana and Idaho and stuff like that, we do have like a much younger crowd. And I think we had a big problem with maybe, kids drinking Four Locos in the parking lot and coming in with X's on their hands and being a little too shittered for the Colby Acuff show. And I think they had to be asked to leave.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, man. I was like, I don't know. I loved the show in general. Like I thought it was fun, but it was it was different, especially compared to like the Livingston show.
Yeah. The Livingston show was so intimate. That venue is incredible.
Oh, dude, I love that venue. I cannot wait to go back.
I have some pretty cool pictures of, the stage and those lights kind of up in the back behind the trees. The trees are all purple, and yeah, that was one of my favorite shows I've been to.
Pine
that
Creek
venue
is sick.
awesome.
And I love that, any venue that we could just stay on property, or like, we don't have to drive to a hotel and like do that whole, song and dance. That's always nice. And to stay on property in Montana and like, kind of feel at home for, at least a day is always super nice.
Yep. Next time you're in Montana, we're going to have to go float the bighorn, by the way, because I feel like you could teach me a thing or two about fishing. But I'm curious what the fishing is like down in Tennessee.
Couldn't tell you.
Couldn't tell you? Oh, okay.
Couldn't tell you. I'll tell you this. People are always like, why don't you fly fish in Nashville? Or why don't you fly fish in Tennessee? Because I know that it's actually pretty good. I got a couple buddies that I've met through fly fishing and stuff, and they always go and they fish over near Johnson City. And I know that it fishes well. And speaking of Fernando Winchester, Isaac's always like, because he's like, dude, come on out to Virginia and we'll go, bass fishing and stuff. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I will, but it's a 6-hour drive. If I want to get to Johnson City and go, fish like the Harpeth the South Holston is what it is. If I want to go fish the South Holston, that's 4.5-hour drive. Well, it's a 4.5-hour flight to Spokane. So if I want to go fly fishing, I'm probably just going to fly home and fish the local water. And it's like, it's really hard.
There,
yeah, so. It's hard to beat the fly fishing. And like, it's kind of, it's a little bit, I get it. It's kind of me being a little bit pretentious about the fly fishing. But man, I told, I am going to fish down here because I'm going to go fish with Matt Kozel. I'm going to go fish the Caney with Matt at some point, and I'm probably going to go fish the South Holston at some point with the Trailer Trash fly fishing guys, old Larry and whatnot. But it's just like, man, if I could pick, I would just so much rather fish Idaho, Montana, Washington, in that swing. But then again, fishing is fishing, and like, I just, I like to go. But speaking to your point, I've actually never floated or fished the Bighorn. It's one of the only ones. It's one of the only ones. It's like probably one of 2 rivers in Montana I haven't fished.
So most of my fishing was done on the Gallatin and Madison while I was at MSU. But since I've moved back, because I'm from Billings, since I've moved back to Billings, I've definitely tried to get on the Bighorn more and more, and it's proving to be a nice river.
Yeah, it's cool because it's, from what I've heard at least, it's like a smaller Missouri but a bigger Beaverhead.
Yeah, that
somewhere
right.
in that range is kind of where it sits, and I really love Missouri and the Beaverhead. And so that sounds good. I actually, next year I'm going to try and focus on spending as much time as I can kind of over, in that area even off time or when we're on tour. And I know for a fact that we're going to be over there about the same time that we were this last year. So
awesome.
I was going to ask if you took your fly rods and fly tackle on tour with you, no matter where you're going.
Not always. If we're going out west or we're going out for a long time, I will. My big problem right now is I have like most of my shit down here, which I don't need. So I think I'm actually going to just, I'm going to put all my stuff probably back in Idaho, and I'm kind of hoping I can get some kind of fishing cabin or something in Montana or Idaho, so that then I can like just have stuff there, and then that's kind of like the place I would go to then fish. But like a great example, like I accidentally brought, well, not really accidentally, but when I moved down here, I moved all of my steelhead and like spay fishing shit down here too, which was a huge mistake because there's literally no reason to have it. So I moved it all back up, and then this winter I'll go steelheading and whatnot. But it's just hard to have it in 2 different places. I mean, it's like work is down here, but my heart and everything is still up there. It's just really hard to always split time. And so, if we're going to like this weekend, we're going to go to the Northeast, and it's so run and gun all the time. There's no way I'm going to have time to fish, nor am I really going to fish in,
right,
Philly. Yeah. So like, I'm probably not going to bring it with me. But if we're out for 2 months, I'll always bring it with me, or if we're on a long trip, because you never know. Like that Montana run we did, I fished almost every day except for show days. So, but I fished the Beaverhead, I fished the Bitterroot, I fished Clark Fork, and I didn't get a day. Last year I did Missouri, but I don't know. Like I used to fish 120, 150 days out of the year, and now I fish 10 days out of the year. So take it when you can.
For sure.
You're doing better than me. It gets harder once you start having a family and everything to get out and Do
Well,
it.
true. Yeah. I mean, it's hard. It's like time for me is like not even my own, because even if I go fishing or something, it's only one day this year. And I think I had 3 days last year where I actually went fishing by myself and there wasn't like a camera or like, you know,
Hmm.
something to that degree. Um, which, like I always, if we go fishing, I do want to get some kind of footage of it because it's always nice to then like relate that. It's like it's always nice to kind of show what we do because it's like
Right.
personality stuff, and I don't want people to not think that I don't fish or whatever. But that was, that was kind of the thing that I would do. That was mine. That I would go fish by myself and like take the time to kind of decompress in the world and feel small and write songs, and that's like really where all that stuff comes from. And
Hmm.
you don't get that anymore. It's hard. You got to like really find something that kind of gives you the same therapy. And I really just haven't found it. So I just need time on the water is all it is.
So I'd love to turn back to your music and talk about American Sun a little bit.
Yeah.
It's absolutely an incredible album, easily first team All American this year. Um, what I love most about it is how there's like a song for everybody and there's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
variation in sound. And it seems clear that, you're no stranger to blending different influences or sounds. I'm curious if there's a style outside of country that you've always wanted to experiment with, but haven't had really the chance to yet, or if there's any sort of sounds that you want to play around with.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think like American Sun was super unique in the fact that it's it's a blend of some kind of country and some kind of rock from all ages of, like basically from the 20s all the way until probably like the early 2000s. Some of it is like alternative rock crossed with banjos and shit, like some
Mhm.
of it is truly like that. Um, and I don't know, like I would love to make a bluegrass record at some point just because I grew up on so much bluegrass and like it would be really cool to have a grass record. And I also think it'd be really cool to have a rock record, like a true like southern rock or like, alt rock record. But at the end of the day, when it comes to making records and songs and shit, I mean, I have a lot of songs that I've put out, and I have a lot of songs that I haven't put out. And sometimes those songs, even if they're great that I haven't put out, they might never see a record just because when you go into a record, you never know. Like, it can't just be a bunch of good songs. The record has to kind of like live in its own little thing, right? It has to be, in my mind, a record needs to be a complete thought. Um, And so we don't really know, I guess, like before we go into a studio, we'll have like a basic idea, kind of what we want. Like right now, we're actually working kind of on the next record and kind of what we want that to be. And we've already talked about what it's going to look like. It could change at any day. Like right now, it's pretty elaborate, but it could devolve into like something super simple. I mean, we've done that a million times. So I don't know. In the case of American Sun, though, the writing was super powerful. And I knew what I was writing was like pretty heavy and like everything was just kind of coming together really well. And the actual production aspect of it didn't kind of come until later with my producer. And it was funny. We kind of started everything with the drum beat, which is so different. But in music, like in your standard band group, your bass is going to be the backbone of the song. He's going to be giving the singer pitch. He's going to be keeping time, and he's going to be riffing, and he's kind of keeping everything together. The drummer's job is to kind of decide what genre it is. So based on the drum beat, that's going to kind of like decide what you in your mind think it is, genre wise. And so starting with the drum beat for these songs actually ended up working perfectly because it was like, oh yeah, like we're going to take Plastic Horses to this place, and it's going to be like a 60s Ringo Starr beat, and then we'll just go ahead and like, we'll just make it like a 60s rock song, and it'll come across super country because anymore, like that's what country is. And just shit like that, we just kind of kept playing with it and just kind of jumped right into it. So it was fun making that one. And it was also a lot different than, like Western White Pines was a live record. We cut that with the traveling band. So all this stuff, the records are all different. And once again, I've just been really lucky to make a different record every year.
That's awesome. Yeah. Western White Pines will be played at my funeral. But the other incredible thing about American Sun is how it really supports mental health awareness.
Yeah.
And, I don't know if I wouldn't say that maybe that's the central theme, but it's definitely a sub theme of the album. And your music has sparked a lot of conversations on that front. And just so you know, spoiler alert, you've been nominated for a Grunge for Mental Health Song
Ooh.
of the Year.
Yeah, actually, I did see that. Thank you guys so much once again. Seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. Just kind of want to hear your thoughts on what role you think music plays on opening up those conversations about mental health and how your own experiences shaped your approach on that.
Well, first of all, I think when you're talking about something like mental health, music could potentially be one of the only things or the best thing, I think, to actually help with a scenario like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's something about when you're playing the mental game, or even like for physical stuff, whatever it is, if there's something that's super, people tend to detract when you tell them to do something. Hey, stop feeling this way. Hey, stop acting like this. Oh, it's not that bad. Like that kind of shit is obviously terrible for anybody going through anything with, especially when it comes to mental health. But there's something different about it being placed in a song. There's something so, it's like Inception of you're listening to this song and it's describing how you're feeling. And it makes you feel way less alone. And all of a sudden it comes across really clear of like, oh, hey, like this is how I'm feeling. I do feel this way. This song is showing me a little bit of like a path that I'm going down, and maybe that's not a place I would like to go. Maybe I should seek help or call a friend or something like that. And I personally have lost way too many friends to mental health. And when I was going through and like writing for American Sun, my dad was super sick at the time, and he was fighting in his own mental battle. He had a terminal respiratory disease, and it wasn't getting any better, and it was going downhill. And I feel like the doctors and everyone prepped me so well for like what that disease was going to look like as it played out, but nobody told me about how the mental part was going to play out. They don't talk about it. They're just like, okay, well, here's the disease and this is how it works, and this is the medicine and blah blah blah, and this is probably what it's going to look like, and this is what's what you look for. But no one talks about the toll it takes mentally, like when you're staring down the barrel at that. And not only that, but then that Christmas, I had another friend, which was, I think it was my 10th or 11th friend or person I knew that unfortunately took their own life. And I'm just like, oh my God, man, like I'm so sick of I'm tired of this happening. And I mean, as you know, like in Montana and Idaho and the Northwest, it's like an epidemic. I mean, it's brutal up there, and it happens way too often. And I just decided, you know what, if I'm going to be the guy from Idaho and I'm going to be the guy who's up here, waving the flag, I need to address this, and it needs to be like a main core of this record. And so I started writing for it, and I'm so happy that we released "Scare of the Dark" first, and like that was such a focal point for the record, because my mentality on it was like, man, if one person listened to it and decided that it wasn't worth taking their own life, that's a win. And it ended up being definitely more than one person. And when we're talking to fans and stuff, we hear it almost every day. So I'm really proud of that. I'm super proud of the fact that we made a record that has definitely impacted people in a way that puts more lives on the world every day. So
Yeah.
it's been good, man. And it's nice because not only, I mean, there's Colby Acuff, listen through, you can cry to the discography, you can definitely get shittered, you can watch a football game, you can contemplate a lot of life in the 66 songs that we have out. So, but yeah, I'm proud of that for sure. I'm proud of that on that record.
It's amazing.
Absolutely. Yep. I can attest to all of that, all of the different feelings. He's right. If you haven't listened
Yeah.
to Colby, first of all, what are you doing? And second of all, get on it.
Well, yeah, I think it's also just one of those things where the music's always just like a reflection of what's been happening in my life over a year. People, I don't know, and American Son, that whole year was so heavy for me, and I just feel like the next thing I'm going to come out with is not going to be probably even remotely close to that. It's hard to put out something that heavy twice, and a lot of the songwriting on American Son, I will probably go to say that's that could be some of the best writing I ever have, if not maybe the best written record I'll ever have, and I'm okay with that. I mean, some of those songs should be, in my mind, the best songs I've ever written. That's totally fine. They're there. You can always go back and listen to them.
They're forever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things to do is, wake up on Saturday morning, don't have to work, fire up the smoker. It's, 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, walk over to the fridge, crack open a beer, and fiance's like, "What are you doing? Like, it's 8 a.m. Colby Acuff said you can't drink all day if you don't start in the morning. So I gotta listen to him. The first couple times it was funny. Now she's like, whatever. I'm going back to bed.
Yeah, we've puzzled many wives and fiancés and girlfriends. I know that for a fact. Dude, I'll never forget. There's every now and then. I shouldn't say every now and then. It's almost every show. We always joke about it in the band because we can see it on stage, and it's like there'll be like a group of 3 dudes front row just having the time of their life, and that like we are their fishing tracks, we're their hunting tracks. They probably work together, and like they probably listen to Colby Acuff like while they're on the oil rig or whatever, like our classic fan. And they got 3 either girlfriends, fiancés, wives. So they got brought their significant others with them. And those girls are not necessarily having the time of their life. They got drugged to a Colby Acuff show. And I know what that looks like because I know, like, in the car ride to the gig, they're like, "You guys are going to love him. He's so great. Like, you're going to love him. Like, we listen to him all the time. Like, his stuff. Like, we play it all the time. Like, when we're smoking or like when we're, cooking or like whenever we're doing it." The girls are just like, whatever. And then, we play the show and I'm sure that they like it. But it's just not the gravitational pull that we have just for like the, what you're talking about. Yeah. Or maybe like what you're talking about is we've pissed off a few wives in our time just being passive because, of shit like that. And then they're like, "Oh, okay, now yeah, I see it now. Like this is gonna be a thing." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's the way it goes."
Exactly. Just how it is.
Yeah, well, I enjoy it. I think it's great. It's always but I mean, that being said too, like the show in general, like we push the show in the beginning and then we slow it down and like try to give it, because there's so many songs, and I try to make sure that there's so many different types of songs, like like kind of what we're talking about. Try to give the songs that are a little deeper kind of like their own time, and try to like let that sink in, because it's hard to go from like Start in the Morning to American Son.
Mm-hmm.
So building the set, it's kind of like, all right, well, this is going to be rock and roll drinking time, and then like we'll break it down, and we'll kind of try to like suck the air out of the venue a little bit to try to like drop in some serious shit. And then once we do that, then we'll go back and we'll finish strong. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I want to make music for everybody, and that includes myself. And I want to have songs on stage that are fun to play and like that are lively and drinking tunes and shit like that. But I also want to make sure that I'm writing songs that are meaningful and powerful and can move people, and like they have presence in people's lives. So finding the balance is always fun, and the live show just makes it even more fun and hard in a way.
Yep.
For sure. That being said, do you have any pre-show rituals?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. We're boys and we're pretty casual, and some people do have like their pre-show stuff, and for me, it's you can normally find me backstage with a beer in my hand before we go on, or we usually take a pre-show. We take, like, we call them tasters, like tiny shots. Just a little boy. Because, I mean, once again, like, we started as a bar band, so I mean, we've definitely had some drinking under our belt in other gigs, and we're all getting a little older now, so we're slowing it down just a touch. And it's probably definitely for the best. But we'll take a little taster before the show. I have a beer on stage, and it's really our post-show stuff that has become more the thing. We just love to jam, and so we have like a tiny acoustic bass and a tiny little acoustic guitar, and I'll bring my guitar back, and we'll try to jam with whoever will jam with us, and sing cover songs and until we got to leave or whatever. We just try to have a good time, keep it casual, and we try to treat our opening acts as best as we can. And if we're an opener, we try to hang out and try to get the good treatment from the headliner if we can. And it's at the end of the day, like, we get paid for all the travel and all the interviews and all the stuff that we got to do, and all the time that we spent writing and recording and stuff like that. But playing the 90-minute show or the 30-minute opening set or whatever it is, I mean, we do that for free. That's just the perk.
Yeah. That being said, talking about opening shows, no, you went on a decent little run with Luke Combs.
Yes, I did.
How was that?
It's pretty wild. He played 13 NFL stadiums. Well, 12 NFL stadiums and a ballpark. And it's like, now it's over. It's been over since August. I'm watching football on Sunday, and I'm like, fuck, dude, we played there. I played that stadium. It's crazy, It was one of the most fun tours I've ever been on, though. And Luke's band is phenomenal. And Luke's band and my band are super close, so we literally got to go on tour with like some of our best friends. In fact, the phone call I got is Kurt Ozon, who's Luke's steel player, is my next door neighbor. And he called me because him and Luke's keys player are on his front porch right now smoking cigars, and they're like, "Hey, come hang." I'm like, "Dude, I'm doing an interview. Fuck off. Like, I gotta do stuff right now." But yeah, I mean, so we got to go on tour with them, man, and it's a blast. And God, I cannot say enough nice things about Luke and his camp and how they treated us. I mean, we're first to 5. They owe us absolutely nothing. They came to every single one of our sets. They never missed a show. They always invited us to go back and hang out with them. We hung out with them if we were there on an off day. Like if we played on Saturday, we were there Friday. They always had us come in. I mean, they exceptionally nice and never really got up. Like one time we were playing in Penn State. It was the biggest show of the year. Luke sold 83,000 tickets at Penn State on one night on Saturday. We missed a turnpike in the pouring rain. We were like 3.5 hours late to load in. Because if you miss the turnpike, you're gone. I mean, that's an extra 50 miles. You got to go all the way around. So that's what it was. And we called them, and we're freaking out because we're like, oh God damn it, like we messed this up. It was like the 3rd show of the year or something. And they were just like, it's fine, like whatever, come on in, and we'll get you guys in, expedite everything. It'll be quick. And that's how it was. And we joked about it. They were never mad at us. So professional and so fun. Like I just can't say enough good things about that tour.
That's awesome.
I'm sure that makes it a lot easier to, go on and playing these stadium shows when, you're used to a smaller room, or normally you're playing a smaller room.
Yeah, like, I mean, a lot of that show too is, I mean, I'll tell you this. The feeling I have before playing a stadium show is like, all right, if we could go out there and just get like 10% of the people to just pay attention a little bit, because we only played like 4 or 5 songs. It's like, I just need like someone to be like, oh, that was cool. Because if we convert even 1% of the audience, like, great, that's going to help us out a ton. We're going to play like a 500 cap sold out room. I'm like, dude, we got nothing to lose. Like, let's go up there. Like, I mean, it's comfortable. It feels like if you sold out a room and you're the headliner, you feel very comfortable in it because you're like, these are the people that, we're the daily drivers for these people. We're in it. Like, this is what we want to do. The Luke show is a little bit intimidating because it's like I gotta go out there and I gotta really like show my worth. But it's so much easier when the whole team of Luke's staff is rooting for you. You don't feel as like, oh, I don't really know, like I don't feel comfortable on the stage. It's not my stage. You know, they're like, dude, wherever you want to go on stage, whatever you want to do, it's your stage for the 30 minutes that you have. You're completely, you know, autonomous with Luke. Like it's the thing, it's your set, do what you want. Just don't go over and, you know, we'll be fine. Pretty standard practice. And like it felt so much like home for the 13 shows that we did with them. And it was just, yeah, crazy, awesome experience. And got to play some venues that I'll probably never play again. I mean, just like, that Penn State gig, and Penn State's the fourth largest stadium on the planet.
Yeah.
Like,
that's incredible.
I'll never play that again. And I'm totally fine with that. You know, like, I'm totally fine with that. I don't have to play it again. You know, they've only had like 3 concerts there ever. So
that's wild.
Just wow. You know, that kind of stuff is just unbelievable to me.
Yep.
It's amazing.
If you could collaborate with anybody, past or present, who would it be?
Ooh. You know, that's a tough question. I feel like I'm a big Dylan fan. I would love to do something with Bob, but like I would love to just write with Bob or like try to write with Bob. It would be like more what I would say. Because I think true, like the collaboration thing is like if it's just a feature, it's, how do I say this? Sometimes it's just like for the feature. Like features are really big right now, and like when you have somebody on the song, it brings in like their audience, and like, you know, that's a thing. And like when you're looking at a song and you're like, oh, like I just want to put somebody on this. In my mind, I would like to create with somebody. So even if it is just like a write, or like you end up doing a write and a feature, like that would be a cool thing. I think right now, like people I could definitely see me just writing and putting out a song with would be, I mean, Isaac with 49 Winchester, you know, 49 Boys and Us are close. Love to do something with like Wyatt. I would love to do something with Charles. I mean, like just guys that, you know, we're really close with, we've been on tour with. Flatland would be a great one. Because at the end of the day, man, it's like you spend 200 some odd days on the road. Like you have your road families that like you really cling to. And for the last 2 years for us, it's been Luke, 49 Winchester, Flatland, Charles Wesley Godwin. I don't know, like Laney's been great to us too. Big shout out to Laney. Very first time I ever went for Laney was in Atlanta. The Tabernacle's a 2,500 cap room. 6 months later, we opened for her in Vegas, 4,000 cap room. We opened for her this year in Pennsylvania at Fairs, 12,500. She sold out all of those rooms. You know, she's so great, so nice. She's treated us so well. So really just anybody that I've worked with that I'm comfortable with that, you know, we could do a song. And but I would like to, it's so much more than just like a feature. I'd want to, you know, create with them in order to like truly get it done.
Yep. That makes sense. What are 5 songs that you have on repeat right now?
Always is Don't Think Twice, It's All Right, Bob Dylan. It's one of the best written songs ever made. But right now I've been ripping that one. Probably. I've been listening to a lot of this guy, Jesse Wells. You know Jesse?
Yes.
Kind of
Yeah.
Bob Dylan stuff adjacent. That Can't Be Right. I've been listening to that a lot. What else have I been listening to? I listen to a lot of one song I always have that's like I just put it on if I'm feeling in a jam is Heavy Eyes, Zach Bryan. That's one of my favorite songs. And oh yeah, I mean Turnpike always. Turnpike will probably be my most listened to artist this year or band. But they usually are in the top 5 anyway. I don't know what song right now though. Could be Funeral. I don't know. I listen to a lot of their stuff, but you know, it's you would think that I would listen to more music, to be honest. I like get real narrow tunnel vision when it comes to songs. I get obsessed with the song itself, and then I just like trying to listen to it until I just want it to die, and I'll do that. It's like very probably not great, but I don't know. It's just like my thing.
I think that's pretty common.
Yeah, I
Well, at
get
least it
so
has been for me.
yeah, and I hate it because it's like when the magician, you know, the magician's always like, don't ever tell anybody the magic trick, because like once you tell them the magic trick, you're worth nothing to them. Like don't show them the trick. And they'll never ask you to do it again. It's like not fun. And then like, you know, kind of after years of doing this, it's kind of like I'm the magician. I'm like, fuck, like I know this goddamn magic trick. And I'm looking for the next trick. So I'm like always trying to find the next song that has as much magic in it as like the very first time I listened to you know, any song that I really liked. And oh, another
Mhm.
song that always has the magic, always. Speaking of magicians, is Pulse's Last Magician, Willie Carlisle.
Oh, Willie Carlisle. Love that
That's
one.
a top three. That's a top three song for me ever written. I will listen to that song if I am really up against the ropes or you know anything like that. That song is a never ending spin for me.
Yep. Great pull.
I've been digging his Critter Land album.
Yeah, dude. I mean, you gotta give him a ton of credit. I mean, he is that guy creates to create. It's like the thing that
Yep.
you know half of my brain does, but not all of my body. Like I, with my whole being, I can't do that. I can't just like turn it all off and forget about, you know, the business aspect of it or like whatever. I don't have that ability, but he does. And that's like truly when you get just some of the coolest shit. I mean, that's when you make stuff because you make it for the birds basically. I mean, you just make it because. And you know,
Hmm.
I've never been one to write a song because I think it was a hit or anything. But I do kind of have a business brain and I definitely like to be involved in like the running of the stuff and I get a little, you know, I have my hands in everything and when you put the hat on as songwriter, you're creating to create and like that's the thing, but I can't do it 100% of the time like some of these other guys can and it's like truly beautiful when they do it.
Yep. Yeah, it's got to be hard to balance the creative side with the business side. There's
Yeah.
so much that goes into what you do that the average consumer of your music probably just doesn't ever think about. And
Yeah, but it's the job, you know? Like I'll tell you this, if I didn't want to do this, I was plenty happy as a fly fishing guide. I didn't need to leave
mhm,
that job. I mean, I was out of service 120 days out of the year. My phone was useless. It was like a brick I just had on me. I'd take photos of people with a fish. That's the reason why I had it on me. You know, like I'm on it now nonstop, and it's you know, but it's the job, and I wanted to, you know, it's like you have an opportunity to go have impact. You know how many people get an opportunity like that in their life? It's like my dad always used to say. He's like 99% of the people on the planet will sit there and wish for an opportunity to just like grace upon them, but it never crosses their mind to go out and like you know chase that themselves. It's called chasing the dream. You know, it's not called catching the dream. You got to go
right.
out and get it, and when that opportunity knocks, most people don't even know it's happening. Most people just don't even hear the knock, and it just comes and goes, and they're like, man, I really wish this would happen to me. And they would just
Hmm.
open their eyes for 1 second, they would have known it already passed them by. And so when you get an opportunity like that, you know, sometimes you got to take it. And I ran with it. I ran with it as fast as I could. You know, I'm lucky that, you know, we've gotten to where we are now. And I've always said too, it's like, man, I'm always willing to ride this as long as it'll take me. You know, as long as the trail is, I'll ride the bronc. But it's, yeah, the opportunity thing is always something I get hot on. And I wrote a song about it even. It's called "Rolling with the Wind." It's the last track on Buster My Pines, and it's like one of my favorite songs that I've ever written. That you know just kind of gets swept under the rug all the time. And I understand, White Pines is an absolute banger, so I get it. But Rolling with the Wind is like one of my favorite songs, and it's one of the only songs too that is mine that I will go back and listen to.
I was gonna ask if there were, if your song came on, if you were like, nope, skip.
Yeah, I mean, dude, yeah, I mean, I listen to it so much. I mean, shit, from the time you write the song to the time it comes out, I've listened to it a bunch. Because I really like when we very first make the records, and like I'm just listening to the bounces. I listen to it every day. I will listen to that record from start to finish every day. Because one, I really like them. I do. I really like my music. I'm not gonna lie. I think they're great. Like the songs are good. I love the production. Like everybody that plays on it is always good. Like we take so much care into it. I would never put a song out that I don't like. So yes, I do like the songs. By the time it comes out, I'm over it. I'm on to the next thing. It's like I've listened to it 100,000 times. Like and some of them have a ton of meaning for me, and some of them are just songs. Like they've just kind of become songs as the years have gone by. But the ones that I really love, and like it's always this way, the ones that are so personal to me, sometimes like they just don't really connect with everybody because they're so about me. I feel like, they're like a really big thought that's kind of small that I've had that I've stretched into 3 minutes. And it's like, this is my thing. And I put it out there for me sometimes, so I can go back and listen to them.
That's great. That's what we want you to do.
Fair.
Yep. Is there a particular one on American Sun that's really personal to you that you think others might not get just by listening to it?
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton on American Sun. American Sun kind of is that record in general. I mean, I think a lot of people got the record, but they're all super personal to me. And I think one, though, that I really love on American Sun, and that, I don't really know if it, well, I mean, it hit pretty good, but I would definitely say that Man in the Paper Mask is a personal thought that I like stretched out. But the story behind that song, I wrote it for my producer. So my producer is the Man in the Paper Mask, essentially. So when I wrote it, I was like, okay, Dave, like I wrote this for you. This is your song. So like whatever you want to do for this song, we'll do. As crazy as you want it to be, like whatever you want. It could be simple, could be crazy. I wrote it as just like me and a guitar. And if you heard the work tape of like when I wrote it, it's very different than what it ended up being. But I was like, whatever you want to do, man, like let's. And he was like, I want to do like Simon Garfunkel, like I want to do like a 60s folk thing to it. And I was like, great. And he wrote the reharm and we did it. And I truly love it, man. It's like, it's so unique, like nobody does that anymore. And I'm sure, I know for a fact it's not for everybody, but it's a song that I'll go back and listen to because it turned out for me. I think it's just like, it's really pretty, and I love the writing in it, and I love the vocals on it. Not mine necessarily, but the other harmonies on it are just awesome.
Right. I'm glad you touched on that one because I was going to ask about that one specifically. So
yeah, it's such a unique song, man. It's so cool. Like you really got to dig in to like listen to it, to like kind of know where the story's going because it's all metaphor. There's like basically nothing that tells the thing, but it's truly about my producer. Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. I can't help but see right over your shoulder there, the reserved from the Opry.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they let me play that
How
once.
is
That's pretty cool.
how is that? Like from whenever you found out the phone call to whenever you got up there in the circle.
The Opry was wild for sure. It's kind of one of those things too, like where I just like didn't expect that I would do it. There's something just because like I don't know. I mean, I'm like a northern artist. I just kind of didn't really think that they'd be like, oh yeah, like it's a southern thing. I don't know. But Cleto Cordero, like I mean, he came on and asked me. He was the guy who invited me to go do it, and so that was pretty special. And then like actually playing the Opry, I mean, you get to play 2 songs on your debut, and I played Pines and Devil, and I like basically like I was super nervous. One of the most nervous things I've ever done, and I wouldn't say like I necessarily like I don't remember it done. I kind of blacked out a little bit for it. I just remember being like,
Mhm.
wow, this is kind of a lot because it's just like seated, and they're just like, do something, you know. They just want you to be good, you know, like, and they're there rooting me on. So, but it was really fun, man. It was cool. Definitely one of the wilder experiences I've had, for sure.
That's awesome. What's your favorite venue you've ever played?
Oh, gotta be Ryman or Red Rocks, one of the two. They're just so unbeatable. Red Rocks,
Iconic.
yeah, God, Red Rocks specifically was like way. I thought it was gonna be cool, but like it's way cooler than I thought it was gonna be. Just a really great, and you know what? The other thing too, like both of those shows, we opened obviously, and both of those shows were so good. Like we played good, and like things were good, and we got standing ovations at both of those. So like those are special to me because not only like were they super iconic venues and they were cool, but like we actually ended up having a good show and it was good. You know, it all was like a happy ending situation. Um, that doesn't always happen. Like we play historical venues sometimes and we just shit the bed or whatever. You know, I mean it happens. Um, but yeah, those two specifically, I gotta give props to.
I'm a
Awesome.
big fan of Red Rocks. I've been
Yeah,
there 4, 5, 6 times, and
yeah,
I tell people, I'm like, you just have to go. It doesn't matter who you see. You could be a strong hardcore country fan and go see some rock band, go out and play it, and you're gonna love it just because of the experience and just
yeah. I mean, dude,
everything about it.
it's so immersive. That's the thing that I didn't realize. Like between the artist to crowd relationship is great because you have 9,000 people sitting vertically in front of you versus like spread out.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, from like the stage perspective, I just didn't realize it's kind of like playing to like a tower of people. So it doesn't feel like, you know, we've played big shows, you know, like opening for whoever, and like it always feels more like an ocean of people, which like in itself is a totally cool different thing. But like when they're just in a tower in front of you, basically seated vertically, it's just like you can see so many people, and like the relationship is so strong. Like you know it sounds good, so like you're really comfortable. It's just I don't know. It felt really good. I'm also gonna go ahead and do an honorable mention though. There's one of my favorite shows and favorite venues. I grew up going to it all the time. Is Tractor Tavern in Seattle. Played a sold out show there this last year, and that's one of my favorites. I also love Mississippi Studios in Portland. It's one of my all time favorite headlining like small clubs that we do. Um, and there's one more I was gonna mention. I can't remember though if it was. I don't know. We play a lot of great venues, man. Like Tennessee Theater, even in Knoxville. That is the most gorgeous room I've ever played in my life. Like I would so highly recommend going to the Tennessee Theater. It blew me away. It's like, I think I don't know if it might be a 2,000 cap theater, but we played there with Flatland the night before we played the Ryman, and oh my god, just unbelievable like room. So, you know,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of them. I even like John's Alley in Moscow, Idaho. Unforgettable venue for me. You know, it's like one of the very first venues I ever sold out. I mean, there's so many good spots. You know.
It's awesome. What would be your dream venue or dream festival to have your name on?
Mm. I used to always say I haven't played my dream venue yet, but I think I have. I think it's just like it's either the Ryman or Red Rocks, you know, one of those two. And I think, you know, I'd love to be able to headline one of those eventually. Like that would be obviously the best. I mean, everybody, it's like you know, any bill that has me as a headliner is my favorite. It's just like the way it is. I love opening and like I love going out with people, but headlining shows are just like more fun and like it's just easier for us knowing that we're not there to prove anything. We're there to play the show, and like people are there to see us play. That's like one of the
Yep.
best feelings on the planet. It's not like okay, we're opening. We got 45 minutes. We got to convert 2,000 people into Colby Acuff fans. Like there's none of that feeling. But like festivals, I mean, I don't know. I really like playing Under the Big Sky. It's like kind of a hometown thing. I like playing. We're gonna play Farewell Fest this year. I don't know if I should say that. I don't think it's announced. I think it's announced, but hey, just put it out anyway. Who fucking cares? And
Breaking news.
Yeah, whoops. It's gonna announce soon though, because I know it's like the same weekend as Under the Big Sky, and they announced today. I don't know, man. Festivals are tough because it's not about the festival; it's about the lineup, right? Like every festival to me is the same. As far as like for playing it, like some have cooler venues than others, some have better stages than others, some have like better backstages than others, and like whatnot. Obviously, there's big ones, small ones. To me, though, it's like it's gonna be a little bit of a shit show. Every single festival is like this. They're always a little bit behind. There's always something, what I mean, because it's just like so many moving parts. It's totally understandable. But like, it just really depends on who's on it. Like if I have a bunch of friends on the bill, it's great, and we just hang out, and I don't even give a fuck what the backstage is like. But if it's kind of a shit show and I don't know anybody there, and it's everyone, that's not the best feeling in the world. You never want to go to a show feeling like you're doing it for the money. You never want to be like, oh yeah, this paid great, so we're here now. Like you don't want to ever feel that way. And like festivals can tee up to be that way sometimes. It's very rare, to be honest. Like I haven't had that happen a ton, but it can tee up that way.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, one thing that we ask everybody, and we have to ask you, what is your favorite road trip snack?
Oof, you're asking a gas station guy, so God, dude, it's tough because like I kind of am like I can be the king of eating like dog shit. Like I can eat, like I love a Slim Jim and like just terrible shit, love it. So I got to be a little careful because I can really put on the pounds quick if I want to. Like I can drink a Diet Coke 3 times a day and eat a Slim Jim for lunch, like just atrocity diet. So I'm gonna have to go like a little bit on like kind of what I have been doing, which is I'm a huge fan of like seltzer water, like this stuff, whatever. I'll drink 6 a day. Like I'm obsessed with them. So yeah, dude, I love that shit.
Here's my seltzer water.
Yeah, I mean, hey man, I drink this a lot more, so I don't drink that as much. You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, anything with suds, I'm pretty into. So yeah. But like, so I'll get like a Topo Chico, usually from a gas station. I'm not big on like energy drinks and stuff. I'm a coffee guy. I mean, I'll drink a pot of coffee in a day, but like I don't try to stay away from energy drinks as much as possible. So I'll get like a Topo Chico or a coffee if it's in the morning, and I usually go for like a trail mix, or like anything like a chip that's dill pickle. God, I love that shit. Yeah, like if I'm gonna go like atrocity diet, I'm eating roller dogs and Slim Jims, and I'm getting some kind of candy like a peanut M&M, something like that. And if I'm going for like a dirty bulk road trip, I'm definitely gonna get a Diet Coke. I always rock with a DC. If I'm, like I'll tell you this: if I show up to a Love's gas station, I'm hungover, I'm getting a roller dog and a Diet Coke.
We're big fan of roller dogs here.
Yeah, man. I had a roller dog one time in Nebraska. That fucker had been on the roller for like 2 weeks, dude. It looked like a Slim Jim, just like all dried out. I was so hungry. It was like the only thing they had. I'm like, oh, I guess I'm gonna get it. It's like an old boot sitting there on the roller. It's gross.
It's like basically beef jerky now.
Yeah. Oh, and I always gotta have Zins, unfortunately. But it's better than Copenhagen, I guess. That's what they tell me. But like, I don't know.
Right?
God,
that's what they say.
I was so bad on Copenhagen for so long. But I mean, I started chewing when I was 13. It's like, but
Yeah.
I mean, we have these on our rider. Like I mean, dude,
I love that.
can't live without them. Our rider is disgusting. It's like our rider is a bottle of tequila, a 30 rack of Miller Lite, a log of Zans. And then of course, like on the other side of it, we'll always have like we'll have the hell is it called? Liquid IV and
Mm,
limes, and we'll have a bag of Ruffles or Lay's, depends. We switch it around.
hmm
And then we have like a charcuterie board and a veggie tray, and like that's
Nice.
it. It's a pretty basic rider,
That's
really.
all you
Like
need.
some people have, but yeah, like the front three, the Lagazins, the rack of Miller, and the tequila bottle. That's always impressive. Yeah.
It's a
Yep.
necessity.
Oh yeah, I mean,
We were talking with Sean from the pub station, and he was saying that the most ridiculous one that he's had, an artist put an uneaten wedding cake stolen from a wedding, and they fulfilled it. Somebody who was working there knew somebody who works at a cake shop, and
oh my
they
god.
took the wedding cake. They had the cake shop make a second one so that the wedding wasn't out of cake, and then they went to the wedding, took a picture of it there, and then brought it to the green room.
I will say, dude, Pub Station is one of my all-time favorite green rooms, and I love that. I love Billings. I love the venue. I mean, they treat us really great. But the backstage there is really nice. It's like big and open. They have showers. They always have hot tea. Like they have a bunch of stuff there, and you just stay across the street. It's so easy. I really enjoyed being in Billings for that one. But a lot of people will put really unique stuff on the rider to then, if it gets fulfilled, then they know that the venue read the rider.
Mm.
So that's like a big popular one. Like some people put like blue M&Ms. Like I want a bag of only blue M&Ms. And so then like yeah, stuff like weird shit like that. So then like they know. I always know
hmm
because we have a roll of Zins. Because I feel like that's like kind of the
hmm
weird one. You gotta like go and actually, you can't just get it anywhere. You gotta go to a gas station. And
Right.
sometimes they're out of Zins or whatever it is. But you know,
There's a problem with that around here.
yeah, there's a problem with it kind of everywhere, and it's not my favorite problem. Kind of need those, but we'll see.
Yep.
So it was announced a couple weeks ago, I believe, you were opening for Muscadine Bloodline over here at Billy Bob's on Valentine's Day.
Yes, yes, that's another band I'd love to do something with. I forgot about my boys. I love Muscadine. We actually met them in Idaho. We played Highway 30, and they were playing the same day as us. And God, we just hit it off real tight. And God, I just love those guys. And when they opened for Post here in Nashville, I was texting with Charlie. I was like, dude, good luck tonight. And that whole thing was also cool because Seth Taylor was playing guitar for Post, and Kristen Rogers, who was singing backgrounds for Post, both of them played guitar and sang vocals on Western White Pines and American Sun. So between them two and then Muscadine Boys being on that tour, like I just had a lot of friends, and unfortunately I couldn't go to the Nashville show. So I was texting Charlie and I was like, hey, good luck tonight, crush it, blah, blah, like say hi to Seth and Kristen for me and whatnot. And he just texted me back. He's like, dude, we got to make it a priority to get together this off season. We got to hang out. And the next day we got the offers for the shows. So I'm like, oh yeah, boys looking out. Sometimes like the easiest way to hang out with your friends is just to go on tour with them. It's like a double solution. It's nice. But that Billy Bob show should be ripping.
Yeah, I'm currently buttering up the fiance. Like, hey, let's go spend Valentine's Day over here at Billy Bob's. She's not a big fan because they got cold cheap beer, and I like cold cheap beer.
Right.
And
That's tough.
I usually end up driving there, and she ends up driving the hour and a half home while I'm like passed out in the passenger seat. So maybe I can make a deal
I don't
and
know. I would
get out
say,
to that show.
it's Billy Bob's. It's like two really good live bands, if I can say myself. Like, it'd be fun. Muscadine is
hmm
Oh yeah,
probably they're probably the best live band I've ever seen. They're up there. I mean, they
I've
are
heard that so many times.
phenomenal, dude. And they have, I mean, Gary is an incredible writer and player and singer. Like, he's so good. He plays guitar amazingly, but they have a lead guitar player who is like, just, dude, he's unbelievable. I mean, their whole band, like, it's crazy. So I mean, if you haven't seen him prior, you gotta go. It's so good. Plus, I mean, do they have a lot of like romantic songs? It'll be perfect for Valentine's Day.
She's one that showed me Pieces, and that was after a little $10-15 cover, little dive bar, and again, cheap beer and even cheaper shots. So all I remember of that drive back is Pieces, and that's the only thing I remember on the entire drive back home. So I say, oh, there's our song.
Yeah, 1090 is kind of like me. I just got engaged with my girlfriend, so fiance now. But 1090 is kind of like our engagement song. Like that. Oh, thank you, man. Yeah, I finally pulled the trigger. It's been 7 years, so she is waiting. That's the way it goes. I too had a problem. I was a little too much cheap cold beer. It took me a while to figure out I should propose.
What I did was I did it on a whole lot of nice cold cheap beer up on stage at a concert. So
oh, nice.
And it's really funny because she wanted it like a private proposal, and here I am to a sold out Green Hall crowd like, hey, will you marry me?
No way. Who's playing?
So my buddy Palmer Anthony, he was opening.
Yeah.
And then
I know Palmer, yeah.
I went up on stage with him during his song Love Me Forever.
Okay,
and then Jacob Stelly was the headliner.
Okay, yeah, that's cool, man.
So yeah, and it never clicked that I was getting engaged on stage at Green Hall. It was just, hey, proposing up on stage, and then after the fact, I was like, holy shit, I just did that at Green Hall. Like, wow.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I try not to think about things I do on stage too much. I'm just like, yeah, I can get her done, like, yeah, they all start to bleed together. But yeah, man, yeah.
A lot of cold beer and tequila was drank that day to prepare me.
Yeah, fair enough, man.
Yep. Well, Gage, do you have any final questions for Colby?
I don't think so. Just get out there and support live music.
That's what I'm trying. Man, I mean, that's the thing too, right? Like, I don't know, man. I feel like live music's getting like harder and harder, like to kind of, I don't know. I mean, it's just, I feel like we're in an age right now where music is, once again, it's kind of like when MTV was big, but like music's just like very visual right now. It's like super visual, and it's not as much like music-y as it was maybe 5 years ago. And I feel like a lot of people are, I kind of get it, like the incentive to stay off the road a little bit and spend more time making content if your money's tight. I mean, the road is expensive and it's tough, but I started as a cover band. I started as a honky tonk band playing in roadhouses and shitty dive bars. So like for us, it's hard to imagine not playing, not going out and doing live music. It's like almost impossible for me to even think that. So I can guarantee you that we will be on the road and be in a city near you come in 2025.
Love
awesome.
It. Go see
Looking
Colby.
Forward to it.
Stream American Sun. It's easily one of the best albums of the year. It's my opinion, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be heavily featured in the Grungies, which
love that.
I don't know how you feel about current award shows, but we decided to try and take some matters into our own hands, and we are going to put on an award show sometime in January, and we're excited to feature all of our favorites, and we're going to have the people vote on it too. We're going to have a mass survey that people can put their opinions on. So
yeah, I'm a big fan of fan voted things. I'm not big on committees, but that's just me.
Yeah. For sure. With all that being said, make sure to go follow Colby on all socials: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, MySpace, LinkedIn, all of it. Whatever you can find, go follow him. Shares music around. Go stream it. Share this interview around with everybody that you know, and make sure to tell them to share it with everyone they know, even their pets. That being said, go check out Colby's website, colbyacuff.com. Go buy some merch. Go look up the tour. Go support local live bands.
100%.
With that being said, I've had all I can handle. Hope you're happy now. Good night.